Hey guys, so hopefully you caught my previous video where I brought my dad on and he told a cool story from the past. And I have another one here from that same conversation. So if you were to look at my collection and you take a look at it, and then all of a sudden you're seeing, hey, he's got a random 1969 Topps Denny McLain autographed card here. That's cool, right? 1969 Topps Denny McLain. And then I also got the 68 Denny McLain. But I'm not a Denny McLain collector. I don't have all his cards. I just got a couple. And this story that you're going to hear now is the reason why. This story that my dad's been telling me since I was a kid and still tells me, and it never gets old. It's a great story, but the fact that, as you'll see in this story, when he tells it, not only is it a great story, but the combination of my dad and his life at the time, the funny story with it, and it's what makes collecting for me so personal, because every piece in your collection, you can tie it back to something. And these Denny McLain cards, every time I look at them, I think about this story my dad's going to tell, and also my dad. So what's better than that? Here we go. Tell me about, I think it was what, 1968?
Well, it had to be because I was in the Air Force, and I was over in Germany for 3 years, and I went over there, and I was there 67, 68, and 69.
Yeah.
Those are the 3 years I was over there, and I had a job where I could listen to the radio. Really, that's what I did. And a friend of mine named Howie Sweat, he was in charge of the antennas.
Yeah.
And he could, so I would tell him when I wanted it, if there was a good football game on or a baseball game, I'd tell Howie, I'd say, Howie, get me hooked up to that game good. So he'd have the right antenna, and he gave it to me. And it was just so happened that this game was Mickey Mantle's last year in the major leagues. And it was his last time to be in Detroit. And it was last time. And Denny McLain was pitching, who had won over, I think he's the last pitcher to ever win 30 games.
31, I think he
won. Yeah, he won at least 31 games, and he was pitching the game, and it was near the end of the season. They had already clinched the playoffs, and he already had his 30 games in, and they were leading in the game. They were leading like 8-1 or something like that. Bill Freehand was the catcher for Detroit. So Mantle came up, and this was going to be his last time up. Fans were really cheering and everything. Freehand got up out of catching, walked out to the mound because Denny McLain called him out.
Yeah.
So out there, and they talked for about 20 seconds. He turned around, and he came walking by, and as he was going by Mantle, I knew what he said because the announcer, who I believe was Phil Rizzuto at the time, I'm not sure, but he says, Phil Rizzuto says, well, the Freehand just stopped and said something to Mantle, and the umpire even smiled. So Freehand went back to catch, and don't know what it was. But what he said to Mantle was, when he walked by, he said, hey Mick, you're going to get him all down the middle fastballs. Mantle just looked at him like, couldn't believe him like that. So he gets up there. Here comes the first pitch. Right down the middle fastball. Mantle just looked at it. And he turned to Freehand, and Freehand just said, you're only going to get 2 more like that. The umpire is actually cracking up behind the plate. Next pitch comes down, same one. Mantle swings at this one, but fouls it off. Right behind home. So he hit it, just missed it. So he's got 1 more pitch left. Here goes Freehand up. Freehand's up there. McLain's ready, winds up, throws the fastball, and bang. Mantle must have hit it way out in Detroit. I mean, it was like almost off the light tower went out there so far. So Mantle's running around the bases, jogging around the bases, and he gets around second base, and he comes in, he gets around third base, and he tips his hat to McLain. And McLain just kind of like smiled and just waved to him. Mantle stepped on the plate and went in the dugout. Now, the funny part of this story is coming up right now. Joe Pepitone was the first baseman for the Yankees then. And Mantle was batting third or fourth. I forget what he was batting. But Pepitone was batting behind Mantle.
And he was crazy, right?
Oh yeah, Pepitone was really not all there anyways. But he gets in the batter's box and gets ready, and he stakes his hand and he like puts it below, like right at his waist, and he wanted it right down the middle, like Mantle got it.
And now Denny McLain was not the nicest guy. Like he
No.
was a pretty mean pitcher. He was friends with Mantle, so
Oh, yeah,
he
they were
like
friends. And
respected him. But
plus he had the game won.
yeah,
The Detroit had the season, and they were in the playoffs already. And McLean had already won his 30 games, and it was 8-1 at
Right.
the time. So he just looked. He's staring into Freehand, and he saw Pepitone do that. And now Phil Rizzuto's up, and he goes, "Well, I really think I just saw something that shouldn't have happened." And what? He says, the guy goes, "What?" And he says, "Well, Pepitone is asking for a fastball right down the middle, so he wants to hit a home run like Mantle just did." But you got to understand that McLean is a nice guy as far as Mantle's concerned, and this is going to be that was Mantle's last time up in the major leagues there at Detroit, so he did it. But I don't know about this, but I believe that Pepitone is going to be sitting down after this pitch. So McLean wound up and throwing it right at his head, and Pepitone just fell down backwards and dropped the bat, and he just looked at Freehand and Freehand just looked down at him and started giggling. "You want another one?" And he goes, and he just got up, and that was the end of it.
I love that story. What I like best about it is you were in Germany, and what was your title? Non-Morse intercept operator?
Intercept operator was highly classified.
Highly classified. So I don't know if we're supposed to be talking about it, but what
Well,
I love about
it
it
was
is
50 years ago, so it's all right.
you should have been intercepting signals from the enemy, and you were listening to the Yankees. I like that.
Well, yeah, you have to do that. That was a good idea I had too, because I would get the football games, and I would get them. Howie would get them for me live. I would have them live on my. But the people that were working there, the people that were in there, they would get it on tape delay.
Right.
So I mean, I already knew the score of the game, and I would try to go around and give points.
So you placed bets, even though you knew who the winner was.
Yeah. But I never really. I mean, they would pay, and I would give it back to them, and then I would tell them what I was doing. So they were laughing about it. But
Well, thanks for your service.
oh yeah, that's my favorite time. It was a good time. And then,
So I just want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video here with my dad. And I do plan on bringing him back here on the channel in the future. I just want to wrap it up for now by saying, really, one of my big goals as a dad is someday for my kids, I have 2 kids, I want them to feel the way that I feel about my dad. I want them to feel like they got lucky. I know they will about their mom, but I want to keep working towards making sure they feel the same way about me that I do about my parents as well. Thanks, guys.